How's everybody doing today? Hey, so welcome to our first Premier Castle Realty podcast market update. I am Joseph Xu, the broker and owner of the company. So I'm glad to be here with you today. Um, so today we got several things to cover. I'm kind of gonna give you the agenda for today, and but we're gonna be focusing on sellers. Our next episode will focus on buyers and how this market has affected their efforts because, as you know, most real estate agents will work both buyers and sellers, and sometimes both. Okay, so what I want to show you today is okay on today's agenda. We have several different topics to talk about, and they will be covering the market forecast for 2022, uh, interest rate and how they're rising, because a lot of people think the interest rates are rising so high that most homes are going to be unachievable, or you're going to have to buy a less home because of the interest rate being so high. We're also going to be talking about mortgage projections. um, the biggest thing is like how is that impacting the home sales? So you as a seller, are probably thinking, how is the rise in interest rates affecting the sales of the homes in the area? So we're going to cover that to kind of give you an insight into what's going on in the market today. Also, we're going to be talking about forecasting home appreciation. So as a seller, you always want to sell high, and most buyers want to sell buy low. Okay, so there's depending on market conditions, which basically dictate exactly how homes appreciate and also the prices of the homes that you can sell them for. There's different factors to consider, so we're going to be talking about that. Also, we're going to be talking about the pandemic effect. So, what kind of an impact has this pandemic had on sales for the last 2021 and going into 2022? What do we expect to happen? Also, talk about seller demand. What is the market doing right now as far as sellers? Are we in a seller's or a buyer's market? You probably heard that several times, and you're probably thinking you know exactly where we're at today. And probably today, well, based on the information I'm going to be sharing with you, it's going to validate some of those thoughts that you've already have. And then we're going to talk about seller time frame. Really a lot of questions that we get is it a good time to sell? Well, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to go into some of the scenarios. And if you have any questions, we'll make sure that we answer them in our next event. So we'll give you our email, and you can contact us. As a matter of fact, you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you'll see the information that I'm talking about. You have the phone number, you have our real estate email, and also our website. So if you have any questions, you can call today and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay. So with that said, so we're going to be talking about the housing market and really what does the upcoming year have in store for us? What are we expecting for 2022? And we're going to kind of go over some numbers for 2021 to kind of give you an idea how that contrasts and how they blend. So hopefully you're going to get some good insight into what to expect and share this information with your friends and relatives. Okay, so let's talk about mortgage rates first of all. As you can tell, mortgage rates by Freddie Mac. Now this is a 30-year fixed rate. You know where they're going. As you can tell in the red boxes here, you got second quarter 20. I mean first quarter, second quarter, all the way to the fourth quarter of 2022. Now these are projected. Okay, so it doesn't really mean that they're set in stone. They could be higher, they could be lower. But as a moment, this is what Freddie Mac is projecting regarding interest rates. Now, if you take a look at the previous information on to the left, that's up to January 2018 until today, actual interest rates. So where are we going to 2022? Basically, in fourth quarter, we're talking about difference between 3.4% now, first quarter of 2022, all the way to 3.7% in the fourth quarter. Now, what does that really mean to you guys as far as projections in the future? Well, if you can, as you can see on the screen here, we have some information regarding interest rates in different areas, different projections by different companies. Like Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. So if you guys don't know, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are really the biggest player in the secondary market, where most banks actually end up selling their loans to. NBA and NRA are basically organizations that kind of take a look at the market because, like the NRA is the National Association of Realtors, and these are basically projections on where they expect mortgage rates to be for 2022. As you can see, Freddie Mac 3.4, going left to right on the first quarter to 3.2. On average, if you look all the way to the right, you'll see that it's a 3.33 or 3.3. Okay. So relatively low, right, for first quarter. And as you can tell, this is a little bit different from the previous slide because we were looking at Freddie Mac. So this one has Freddie Mac at 3.4 and Fannie Mae at 3.2 on average. With the rest of the projections, we got it at 3.3. If you look at second quarter, the numbers all the way to the right on average increase to 3.45. Okay, which is higher than the first quarter Freddie Mac projections. But this is second quarter, so as you can tell, they're going up. If you look at third quarter, the different companies that provide the projections, we're now at 3.55 in the third quarter of calendar year 2022. Okay, all the way up to fourth quarter, where we're looking at a 3.7. Okay, just under 4%. But if you look at the NBA, they're looking at 4.0. Okay, so we could technically be in the same ballpark, because 3.7 to 4.0, it's not a big difference. But if you're looking to buy a house, each one of those points is, significantly increasing your house payment. Okay, so what I want you to take a look at now is we're going to look at the projections of what they're looking to rise, and traditionally by the decades how they match up. Okay, as you can see based on this slide here on the screen, if you look at 1970s, 8.86%. Okay, that's pretty high, right? So if you look at the 1980s, it was a 12.7. And if you look at politically what's going on in that time frame, you'll see why this is so high. 1990s, we started going down to 8.12, and in the 2000s we're 6.2, 2010 4.0, and if you look at 2022 on an average, even if you go to 3.7, we're still lower than the 2010s. Okay, so a 4.0 we would match it. So when you look back in time, we are relatively lower in interest rates. Okay, so even though we have been used to the lower interest rates, in this particular year because mostly the pandemic, rates are pretty much steady and are also pretty low comparatively to previous decades. Okay, so just wanted to kind of give you that information so that you can actually take a look at that and understand that even though you believe they're higher, and relatively speaking, they're actually lower than other years. Okay, so that's a good thing for buyers, because the lower the interest rate, the more house they can buy, and it helps the sellers too. Okay, now let's take a look at how does this impact home sales. Okay, and if you take a look at this slide here, the line is basically showing you the interest rates. And besides 2006, there hasn't really been an impact on any type of, you know, um, or basically in the 2006, 2008 timeframe when we had the real estate crash. This particular timeline shows you that, the interest rates, even though they were as high as like back in the 2000s, look at how high those were. The homes were still being sold. And even if you look at the 1989s, we have the high interest rates there, and homes were still being sold. Okay, so you don't have to directly correlate with a higher interest rates as far as the amount of homes being sold, because homes are always going to be sold. It all depends on what amount. And as you can tell to the right, in the 2020s, when interest being so low, the home sales, pretty much shot up. Okay, matching the 2005 period, and as you can tell, in the 2006 to 2008, the numbers started going down, and interest rates were relatively higher than we are now. Okay, so that's really good information to see, and it helps to see it on a graph, because it really helps you understand what is going on in the market, and what impact those interest rates have on the sales of your home. Okay, as you are the home seller. Now, as you can tell, what how those interest rates impacting the forecasts for home appreciation. Now, this is one of the biggest questions that we get. How's the market? How's the market? How's the market? What do you expect for next year? So, basically, based on the forecasting, okay, which is the data that we use to kind of make determinations on, buying and selling, and not only as far as real estate agents go, but also as homes owners, because we are homeowners also, the vast majority of us. So if you take a look at Freddie Mac, okay, they expect to have a 7.4% increase, okay, um, in 2022 as far as prices go. So from current prices in 2022, they're expecting to appreciate at 7.4. Freddie Mac, I'm sorry, that was Fannie Mae. Freddie Mac, 7.0. If you look at NBA, HPES, Silmans, and NAR, NAR having the lowest projections at 2.8 increase based on appreciation based on today's current homes. On average, we're looking at a 5.1% appreciation from current prices. And a lot of people think that last year the homes and the prices on the home were high, and a lot of people that I talk to that ask me these questions have this gut feeling that something's going to happen, and that the housing market is going to crash again. Let me tell you something. Okay, I'm going to show you some slides here in the near future here, as we go through this presentation, that you're going to be able to tell that the housing market is pretty strong. Okay, in a sense that there's high demand. Okay, so people are going to look for homes, and they're always in the market. As you can tell by the previous slides, it doesn't really matter on interest rates. Homes are being sold in large quantities, okay, in the millions across the nation. So the market is strong. Sales are good. Also, interest rates are good. And even if we go to 3.7, relatively speaking, that's still lower than decades ago. Okay, so even the 2010s, because 2010s it was like a 4.0, so we're still lower than the 2010s. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that the market is strong. If you're looking to sell, this is probably a good time to sell. Okay, but everybody sells at a different time for different reasons. Okay, so let me give you another slide here to kind of give you a better picture of that same slide. As you can tell, these are the numbers that we just finished covering. On average, we're going to be increasing in price across the board at 5.1%. Average of all forecasts identify here. Now, I told you that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are one of the two major companies, basically government owned, that the lenders, like for example Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and all these other lenders, would sell the loan product in the secondary market, which really whoever originates your loan, unless it's a portfolio loan, they may not keep it. As a matter of fact, plan that they're going to sell it in the secondary market. Okay, so just so you know, that's how that works. And if you have any questions on that, we can go into detail later on. Okay, so again, homes, the interest rates relatively low. Home sales are strong. Appreciation is strong. So it looks like the market seemingly right now, as we're speaking, looks pretty strong. I'm sure that you guys could agree with me right now. So if you look at the home sales projected um, they're also projected to be strong. Look at this forecasted in sales. Okay, 2021 forecasted, and then 2022 forecast. Look at 2022 on the NBA slide. So pretty much everybody plans, except for Fannie Mae, who had a 3.5%, I believe, interest rate forecast, or in a 3 point. I think it was like, let me see what it was. Let me go back to the projections here. Forecasted Fannie Mae was a 7.4% increase, and Freddie Mac was a 7.0. And if you look at this chart here, their Fannie Mae is projecting home sales of 6.5, so relatively pretty close. So as you can tell, these are strong numbers all around. Okay. All right. So then, why do I think, or do I know, based on data, that we're having a great market and we have some pent up demand? Okay. Look at these numbers. So months of inventory that basically homes are on the market for sale. Okay, and this really tells you, where we're at as far as market. If you take a look at the screen here, you look at certain numbers here. Okay, first of all, I want you to see what's the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market. If you haven't heard this before, this slide really presents to you exactly what the differences are. If you look at that buyer's market right underneath that, it says more than 7 months of inventory. So basically, that means that there is more than 7 months of inventory on the market. Basically, it would take 7 months to sell every single home at any given time in the market. Okay. And then what is a neutral market? Basically, that means that we have an even amount of homes and also buyers, or basically a 6 to 7 months of market or homes in the market. Okay. And then when we look at seller's market, anything that's less than 6 months, it would be considered a seller's market. Now, if you take a look at where we've been, okay, look at the 1999s, and you look at the far left numbers represent, you know, um, houses, or, months of inventory. Okay, so if you look at 1999 and you look at 2006, we were in a buyer's market, right? Which means that we had more than 7 months of inventory. At that time we had like almost 8 months of inventory. A side story here is this is when we purchased our home. Actually, we did a custom build, and the construction loan, from the construction loan to the permanent loan and everything, interest rates are pretty high. So as you can see, the previous slides I've been showing you, it was like a 6.25 or something like that. It's something crazy compared to right now. So obviously we refinanced. So if you look at 2007, 2008, look at 2010, 2010. Okay, 2008 or 2008. Look at the 12 months of inventory. Now you guys remember the real estate crash, right? So houses were just nobody was buying. Nobody was buying. Credit was frozen. Everything, or pretty much frozen. But nobody was buying homes. Look at that, 12 months of inventory. So if you look at nowadays, if you look at the, today, look at those numbers. Today we're at about 3.5 ish months of inventory, and so that basically means that you're heavily in a seller's market as of today. Okay. Now this slide also tells you a couple things. Okay. First of all, there are not enough homes on the market to sell. Okay, which basically means that people. This is why the main reason, one of the main reasons why homes are appreciating as much as they are, because the demand is high and the inventory is low. You probably heard that from supply and demand in your economics courses. So this is exactly what's happening. Now, also on the other side of the coin, for buyers market, it's a difficult thing right now. Most buyers are facing a myriad of different obstacles, anywhere from getting the right type of loan to making offers and getting into multiple offer situations and so forth, and cash offers. People are buying cash and over asking. We've had several clients that have offered 7, 15, $20,000 over asking and still did not get the home. Now, you know, which offer wins, we really don't know, and which is really frustrating because when we provide the information to for example, the listing agent, or if I'm the listing agent, I cannot share any information with the buyer's agent as the listing agent regarding whatever offers I have, because I got to present them every offer goes to the seller. Okay, as a real estate agent, my fiduciary responsibility is to my client. So if I'm representing the seller, my fiduciary responsibility is for them. And also, if I'm representing the buyer, obviously, my fiduciary responsibility is with the buyer. Okay, so got to give them advice and to provide the best foot forward. Now, when new individuals come on the market, and you got to keep in mind that houses come in and out of the market. I kind of use a little analogy for my clients. I basically tell them, that buyers are like a little school of fish. Okay, and we're swimming around the ocean. We're looking for a home, and all of a sudden we find a home. Somebody in that school of fish is gonna get that house, and then the rest swim away. But that same school of fish don't come around at the same place. They move over to different areas, or they just fall out of the market. But so do the homes. So every time there is a new house on the market, there's probably new buyers looking at the home. And with first time home buyers, if the agent has not given them enough information, like showing them this slide in particular, they walk into a real estate market which is very difficult and frustrating for them to get their home. Okay, so it's very important that we educate our clients, whether a buyer or a seller, to make sure that they understand market conditions, because until they can understand that, they will be frustrated and probably lose several homes that they might have won if they would had a better understanding of the market condition to make their best possible offer, which is not just the price or the sales price, but it also includes the terms of the loan, the terms of the contract. What are you asking for? And I got to tell you right now, the vast majority of home sales and home offers have not asked for any seller concession, because take a look at that. There's not enough homes out there and buyers are still buying. Okay, so just keeping that in mind as you go into the market as a seller or a buyer. Okay, so what kind of effect have we seen because of the pandemic? Okay, so Georgia Ratu, the manager of economic research for Realtor.com, has stated the following: the pandemic has delayed the plans for many Americans and homeowners looking to move into the next stage of their life, and are no exceptions. Recent survey data suggests the majority of prospective sellers are actively preparing to enter the market this winter. Now, that's actually pretty nice, because the more homes that come on the market, the better, the more sales are going to be. As a real estate agent, we like sales, right? But at the same time, if there's too many homes, if I'm representing a seller, that the more homes that come on the market, it switches over to possibly buyer's market. But that's only if we have at least more than 7 months of homes on the market. So, relatively speaking, it's not going to happen like overnight. Okay. So, so let's talk about a little bit about sellers' pent up demand. Okay. This is very interesting. Okay. So, I used to tell my clients that typically it would take 3 to 4 years for somebody. I mean, probably about 7 years before somebody actually decides to sell a home. So, in the real estate business, the longer you stay in the business, the more referrals you get, or the more repeat business you have, because you have already established a relationship with several people that you've actually sold homes to, and those become, repeat business. Also refer their friends, because if you treat them right, they're gonna, refer you to others. So as you can tell, between 1985 to 2008, the average tenure was 6 years. Okay. Now, because of the pandemic and different issues, from 2008 to 2021, on average, it has been 9.2 years. Okay. Look at 2020, 10 years, 2019. Now, I got to tell you, I've been in this home since about 2006, and that's because I retired from the Air Force, and told my kids that we would, stay at one place while they finish their school, specifically their high school years. So, that kept me in the area for a little bit longer, but we're actually here in the near future looking to put our house on the market and move to another home. So, this is exactly what we're talking about here. Yeah, pent up seller demand. So, between 2008 to 2021, on average, 9.2 years. So, you know, uh, basically, it's been a long time, right? So, it's definitely different between 6 years. So, now we're talking about an additional 2 years based on the average. Okay. So, typically, one of the questions that we get the most is, when do most listings come on the market? As a home seller, you want to have, your house on the market when more people are buying. Well, as you can tell by the slides that we've already reviewed, this market's not the typical market anymore. Things have definitely changed. I can definitely say that the market is not normal. Okay. So right now, if you would have asked me before, this pandemic and everything, typically our hottest time of the year starts in second quarter, the spring, April, May, June. And typically it's because the school year really dictates, or really, the real estate market goes around the school year, where people are moving. Maybe they may be moving jobs, but also school years. People are graduating or going to a different school, or maybe the parents want to move to a different school district and so forth. So all of these things have a big factor in when the homes are actually listed. Now, what's been happening is, because there's been so much demand and we have so little inventory, it looks like this winter may be a great time to put the homes on the market. Now, I can tell you right now, actively selling homes and listing homes and representing buyers, there are homes coming on the market right now, and they're sold instantly almost. Okay. I have several clients that we've been to several locations, and every single one of those homes have been multiple offers. We've been lucky enough to get several of those, and I call it luck because really we don't know what the other offers are. However, we do structure our offers uh, in the best foot forward, because our clients are educated on the market. They understand what market conditions are. They understand the inventory levels. They understand, how to provide the best offer possible. And also, it does help if they have some, additional funds to be able to cover the added expenses. Okay, so this winter, January, February, March, it looks like it's going to be where most people may be putting their homes on the market. So if you're thinking about putting your home on the market today, please feel free to give us a call, and you'll have our number here at the end of this presentation. Okay, so think about this. Based on Realtor.com, the majority of sellers entering the market in the next year, which is this year, 2022, plan to list in the next 6 months. Okay, so the next 6 months, they're planning to list their home, which will put you in the typical time frame in like around June. Okay, depending on when this survey was taken. So if it was December, we're talking still June. Okay, but relatively May, June timeframe. 65% have just listed, or 19% plan to list this winter. Okay, so 65% of the individuals have already listed and or plan to list this winter, which goes back to the previous slide that I just showed you. Let's go back to that one more time because I think it's important for you to understand. Typically, the second quarter is the typical time frame for sale. Everything starts slowing down after August. Okay, it's September, October, November. Uh, it's very slow typically. Not this year though. This year's been crazy. Okay, so uh, when you look at 93% or box A have already taken steps towards listing their home, including some are working with an agent. About 28% of those are working with an agent already. So, but they're actively looking to list their home. 36% have researched the values of their homes and others in their neighborhood, as well as started making repairs and decluttering. Okay. So there's three different things, and I wouldn't say one, but you've heard the biggest factor in selling a home is location, location, location. You've always heard that, right? I can tell you that there's three factors in selling a home. So there's location, there's the condition, and then there's the price. So those are the three things that you got to consider. Excuse me. All right. So as we go to the average days to close a loan. So okay, so we have excuse me. So now we have a contract. We're ready to move to the next move. We may be buying another home, so we got to negotiate the contingency to sell of another home. So different factors can come into play, different conditions, different everything. Okay. Um, so how long is it going to take for you to close? So on your home, typically, if you can see this chart here, it goes all the way back to October. Um, it's been taking, October of last year was taking 54 days. Okay, September of last year of 2021 is taking 47. So I tell my clients that typically it takes between 30 to 45 days to close. Okay, so that's what you got to be thinking about when you're actually getting a home on the market. Now, this does not take into account listing time frame. Okay, this takes into account from the listing uh, to the time that you get an offer. So this clock, the 47-day clock, starts in actually based on September. It starts from the time that you accept an offer. Okay, from the time that you accept an offer, it's taking about 47 days to close, and that's pretty average. 30 to 47 days. Now, if you're buying cash and you're looking to move quickly, you can close as early as 7 days, but then it all depends on, is the seller ready to move? Okay. So if you're buying cash, your best bet is to look at those homes that have been vacant, because there's nobody to move. So you can actually, pay cash, move within 7 days. The title company can do all the work really relatively quickly, unless if you're asking for a survey or they don't have a survey, then that might take you a little bit longer, but that's a third party, so it's not necessarily the title company slowing you down. Is the fact that you're requesting a survey, which I will always recommend. Also inspections, you're looking at repairs and so forth. So there's those different time frames within the contract that allows you to do your inspections and so forth. So if you have any questions about the buy-in and also the contract and any of those type questions, feel free to give us a call. You have the number in the near future based on this presentation. Okay, so really what I want you to think about is this: is it time for you to sell? Oh, by the way, if you take a look at this information here, you'll see our contact information, a phone number, and our website. So, but is it time for you to sell? That's something that only you can determine, right? And, one of the factors that you need to ask yourself is, you know, Are you taking steps towards listing? What are the steps that you take towards listing? So basically, you've already made a decision to sell. Now you're taking a look at, okay, how much work do I have to do in this house to get it ready for listing? Okay, so remember the three factors. Location is one, the condition, and the price. So the price should be basically determined based on market conditions. And every single neighborhood will have its own economy, which basically means that, the prices in a neighborhood are going to really kind of give you an insight of how much the market would bear. Now, you know, depends on, how many houses in the market, recent sales, and stuff like that. Some appraisers would look a little bit further, depending. But if they find, you know, comparable homes within your subdivision, then typically that's what they're going to look at. Okay, now the condition is a second factor because a lot of times, some homes sell, but sell relatively quickly. Maybe they're fixer uppers. Maybe there's an investor out there looking to fix a home and resell it. And they take a look at the same numbers because they got to determine the after repair value. Okay, so those are the kind of things that you take a look at. So, what are you doing? Are you taking steps for towards listing? Okay, have you already decided to list? And that will be category A. So, category B will be plan to list this winter, which basically means you're still thinking about it, but you're planning to list, December, January, February, March. Okay, which as just show you the slide, it's a pretty good time frame to actually sell for this particular year. Um, Things may change, but right now this is what the data is telling us. Okay, so the next thing is if you plan to list within 6 months, you're kind of thinking about it. You haven't really made up your mind, and you're kind of determining, okay, what's going to happen in the market. And relatively speaking, most people think that the springtime would be the easiest time to sell, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm just telling you that the data is telling us that this winter it's a really good time frame to sell a home because homes are being sold left and right. Okay, and inventories are low based on the information that I've been able to attain, and based on my personal experience currently looking for listings and also working with buyers. Okay, so very difficult time frame for buyers right now because the inventories are low. So if you're looking to sell, it's probably a good time. Okay, so um, or D, researching values. So really, when you take a look at it, this is if you look at it backwards. So you're going to start doing some research initially, and this is the first step in really determining whether you're going to sell your home. You're trying to find out, okay, how much are the homes selling for in my area? In the next neighborhood, where I'm planning to move. If you're planning to stay in state or out of state, and then you to kind of put a timeline together. Typically, people think, okay, I'm going to sell within the next 6 months, and then as time gets closer, you specific time frame, and then you actually take the steps to actually list your home. So, I would say that if you're looking to determine your value, there's no better person to do it within a real estate agent because we have access to all the sales data and can give you a good estimate on your home price. Now, uh, to be honest with you, at the end of the day, the buyer's appraisal, okay, which is really protecting the lender if they're using a finance, purchase, uh, the lender's appraisal would determine the actual price. And I'm going to tell you that, we've been very good in determining those prices based on market conditions. So we caution our sellers to basically test the market. Okay. The market's already been tested. The market is tested every day with every sale. Okay. So when a seller comes onto the market, and wants to put $20,000, $30,000 above what the highest based on market condition, typically these homes stay on the market even in this time period. Okay, so I would just caution you. Okay, it's your home. You can sell it for whatever you want. At least put it on the market for whatever you want. But there's a difference between listing and selling. Okay, in our company, Premier Castle Realty, we're actively looking for new listings. Okay, we basically sold everything that we have, and we're regenerating our listing inventory. So if you're looking to sell, you're in one of these different factors here between A, B, C, or D, give us a call at 833-722-7853, and we'll surely be able to help you out. Okay, so again, if you're looking to sell, give us a call, dial extension 1, and that's for looking to sell. Fantastic. Okay. So, what we also provide you is if it's time for you to sell, I want you to get a free pair report from Premier Castle Realty. Now, you're probably saying, what the heck is a free pair report? Are we getting produce at our meetings? No. It's basically, it is a professional equity assessment. Okay. Basically, what we determine is what is your home cash value. Okay. And it's also based on, obviously, the approximate amount of equity that you have. Um, and we can go into more detail because let's say you the price of the home minus what you owe is your equity. Okay, so that's the kind of report that we actually work with, and we take a look at the sales in the area, we take a look at your personal information, and we provide you with a CMA, which is a competitive market analysis, to provide you with some insight into what your home could be worth. Okay, so uh, and this is basically the CMA, the current market conditions, a competitive market analysis is based on market conditions. So uh, we're not making it up off out of the air. Um, so we basically take the information that's out there and provide it to you, okay, as a tool to determining your best value. Now, if you run into somebody, I'm not saying anybody or any person. It could be a real estate agent or not, and they just give you an estimate, off the top of their head, basically. Uh, be careful. Uh, that's most likely dandruff. Because if it's on top of the head, that's the only thing I can think of. If they haven't done the research, they don't know the market, they don't know your area, or they're not even sure exactly, different recent sales information, then you could be in trouble if you decide to follow that instructions. Okay, so so what have we covered today? We've covered several things, several factors that help you determine whether you want to sell your home or not. But one of the first things that we talked about is the market forecast. What is it? Market conditions. We talked about interest rate rises and how relatively we match up with the rest of the time frames in the market. We talk about mortgage projections. How is that affecting uh, the sales of homes, and because it really hasn't really done an effect on them because their homes are still being sold, even though we're typically looking to increase the interest rates here in the near future. I still believe, and I'm showing you the data, that we're below previous decades. Okay, I think the closest we're going to get to maybe 4.0. Okay. So also we talked about home appreciation. Now this is a forecast, obviously. And homes are still appreciating. Okay. A lot of people think that the prices are going to go down. No. So the prices are going up from this year. Okay. So homes are still appreciating, and I think you appreciate that if you're a home seller. So then we talked about the pandemic effect. How is the pandemic affecting the market? And as you can tell, we've discussed about the houses on the market, and basically how long people have stayed on the homes, and how that pent up demand is coming into fruition, and when that seller demand is going to be let loose. It's almost like watching. I think it was. that movie that said "Let the Kraken, let loose the Kraken, let loose the sellers." Call me. All right. So we're also talked about the seller time frame and where most people typically think that the market is the best time to sell. And typically, you're right. It's usually in the springtime. But in this market conditions, with the amount of inventory that we have or lack of inventory, it's definitely a good time to put your home in the market if you're ready. Now, everything depends on you and where you're at in your time frame. Okay. So, if you have any questions about possibly selling your home, give us a call at 833-722-7853. We'll be glad to visit with you and give you as much information as possible and also help you on the purchase side. So, if you're looking to buy or sell, give us a call at 833-722-7853. So again, I want to say thank you for your time. Appreciate the the time that you put aside for this conversation, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Should you decide to buy or sell a home, thank you so much.